Okay guys, just another little quick update slash how-to video over here real quick. I've been working on the car throughout the week here. Had an extra day off, so we decided to remove the steering rack. Yay! Yeah, I know I needed tie rod ends. The steering rack just seemed a little sloppy to me. I'm having DPI, Josh up there, DPI, completely refurbish it for me. A lot of guys are going with the cheaper alternative to buy DMC's brand new one. I opted against this only because, from what I understand, it's not able to be rebuilt once you do it. So, like I said, as you can see here, it's not in terrible shape. Boots are still good. Bushings look pretty solid still, but like I said, we're going to replace it anyway just because everything on this suspension is basically being replaced anyway as well. So, that's the overall goal right now. So, we're getting there, guys. It's happening. Another little thing, got my valve covers and timing chain cover powder coated, looking really snazzy. I think the engine's going to look really nice. I'm still in the process of cleaning up the engine. As you can see, it's getting better, so we're getting there. That's Delorean Northwest's bleeder system. I got that, so hopefully that'll help us bleed out the system. Like I said, so where we're at. Obviously, we're still in the process of resealing. I've got all the hardware I need for the exhaust now. Still waiting on hardware for the actual engine. Going to be redoing that. It's just going to basically get brand new hardware, stainless steel washers and everything, so it all looks really nice when it all cleans up and everything. Still in the process of resealing that. Obviously, I wanted to do a real quick thing and show you guys my water pump and what's happening with that. Now, this might look a little funky because on a typical DeLorean water pump, it's pressed on. Well, this water pump's actually from AutoZone. And I just wanted to go this route once to see if it would work. If it works, awesome. I saved myself like, $200. If it doesn't, I'm only out less than $100. Now, this here came from Europe. So that's what's going to help secure the pulley to the water pump, because you can't use the ones from AutoZone and stuff and from Volvo with the press-on pulley. They all come with a back, when you can't see it now because it's shoved way in there, but it comes with a back. I got to line up these holes just a little bit more, and this press fits pretty nice on there, but I'm going to put 4 bolts anyway just to be safe. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully it all aligns and it works out good and we have worry-free, because that was actually one of the first things that started going wrong last year, was the water pump started weeping. So comes, like I said, comes with a new gasket and all that jazz. So the cams are up at DPI, and he's in the process of getting those regrinded. So we are waiting on those. Hopefully those will be done next week. So I'm probably tomorrow going to be taking the steering rack up to him to have that rebuilt as soon as possible. Not to mention my bumper cover, because the bolts on the back here broke off because they're a bunch of pieces of shit. Well, the only way to get those off, you have to actually use like a heat gun and heat them up and get them off, and then he epoxies new stainless steel hardware on there, and then that way you shouldn't have to worry about it anymore. So we're going to take care of that. Onto the steering rack. The steering rack is, it's not the worst job in the world I've ever done, but it's sure as shit not the easiest either. I mean, it has its qualms. So let's just get into what you have to do here. First off, you can disconnect the ball joints. Okay, the ball joints, I used an old school, like just the tuning fork style puller. We put that on there, shoved it in there and hammered it out, and it popped right out, no problems. My buddy Josh was nice enough to come over and help me out last night, so kudos to him. Like I said, it really does help with an extra set of hands there. The next thing you're going to do after you pop those off, you've got the steering shaft that you have to remove, which you can see better over here. Now, if you get down in there, you can probably see this is your yoke and steering shaft and all that. And you remove these 2 bolts and basically open up the splines a little bit, and you got to pull that out of there. Lots of PB blaster, lots of pulling and wrestling and stuff like that. Now, I'm thinking I might go ahead and just remove this off the top here too and replace my, or at least over here, and replace my steering column bushing that goes into the firewall. I have a new one from Delorean Northwest that's more of a solid state, so 30-year-old rubber. I haven't even inspected it, but I'm sure it's pretty ratty looking. So, anyway, the steering rack, like I said, pop these off here. Like I said, it's not too bad. You pop them off, and they fall out. Next thing you're going to want to do, disconnect that while you still have the, try to get that disconnected while you still have the rack bolted to the frame. I did not do that, and I made that mistake, and unfortunately it made it a little bit more difficult. You had to pry and twist and everything else to get it all done. So after that, there are let me get there. There are 2 bolts that hold each of these, and one right there, and these are sitting at the bottom of the frame. I believe they were a 13. Just use an extension and get those off. Those were actually pretty easy to come off compared to some of the stuff. And then you come over on the other side and same thing, 13s, and you just undo that, and the nuts and the washers, which are right there, will come off. And then on this side you have a, well, this is actually the driver's side, I'm sorry. You have this oval looking bracket. You just kind of use a crowbar or a screwdriver and just pry that up off the bushing there. And then the other side, you have a square one somewhere. It's somewhere. Oh, right here. Sorry, guys. You have a square one. And that sits on a base like that. And you just kind of wedge that off of the bushing. And once you get all that done, play with the bushings a little bit to get them to fit or whatever. But it slid literally right out the driver's side. My buddy Josh was able to do it once we got everything on the... Once we got this off, which was the big hassle, once we got this off, the whole thing just kind of slid right out. And that's really all there is to it, guys. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, difficulty-wise, I don't know, I'd say probably about a 5. Need the right tool to pull the tie rod ends out and stuff, and all that. The only reason we're not doing this on the rack is because after talking to Bankston, he wanted to redo this one here, and he didn't have a lot in stock or something of that nature, but he wanted mine, to redo mine, and I already have his tie rod ends, so he's just basically going to redo the steering rack itself. And he's never had a failure, so I was going to do Grady's, but I figured DPI, if he's never had a failure of one, it's going to be just as good, and he guarantees his work, and it's a lot easier to just drive one up there than shipping it. I really didn't feel like shipping this all the way to Grady. And so, yeah, that is pulling the steering rack out of a DeLorean, guys. Like I said, we're going to get this back in before we do the rest of the suspension components, and as I've already said in other videos, and I'll continue to post on this and remind you guys, obviously the brake calipers are already new. You can look at those videos from earlier. But it's got new Grady springs going in on the front. We're not touching the rears right now. I was going to move the fronts to the rears, but you need adjustable upper links in the rear for that, and I really don't feel like spending an extra $350 on those right now, so we're just going to let well enough be what it is in the back right now. But we are putting all new shocks all the way around from DPI. They should look pretty nice. Like I said, new stainless steel lower control arms. You guys have seen those, so all that's going to be getting done here in the next several weeks. So stay tuned, guys. I'm really trying my best whenever I have a few minutes coming out here and doing something, whether it's putting another coat of paint on the components, whether it's pulling the steering rack, whether it's starting to reseal the engine, whatever it is, trying to just make it worth it, because I really want to get this car going within the next month or so. So hopefully that won't be a problem. And like I said, guys, I will continue to update you on everything. Oh, real quick before I go here, I'm the process of painting the rear engine bay area here. Here's the problem though. After I cleaned it up, like really cleaned it, like with acetone and just really scrubbed the hell out of it, I don't know if I'm actually going to paint it, guys. The reason being, it doesn't really need it. It has such a really nice finish on it. After I cleaned it thoroughly, and I'm going to clean it a couple of more times just to be safe, but it's really good looking right now. So I'm probably still going to replace these with stainless steel, but yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Another update, I still need the harness from Josh up there for the new harness that is going to power the alternator and all that. I am putting a Saturn alternator on the car. So, the guys seem to have good luck with that. So, once again, we're going to give that a try. And if that works out well, thank God. If it doesn't, we'll go with another route. But right now, that's kind of what we're doing. I got new of these coming in, no problems. New of these coming in, just everything's going to look nice. But like I said, here in a couple of weeks, we're going to be starting to put everything on here that needs to be on here to get this thing roadworthy. So, it is coming along, guys. You can't even see on the rear bumper. I put some acetone on there. I didn't let it sit. Don't let it sit. It almost like melts it. But I did put it on there, and I wiped it down with it. And it gets a little tacky, but when it's all said and done, man, it fucking cleans it. So that's good news. Now, these here, we're probably going to put some insulator or something on there to kind of help with that, because you don't want moisture to get up in there, because then it starts to get mildewy and just fuck that. So that's where we're at right now, guys. I'll post more videos as I continue to update it, but that is the how-to on how, or the basic anyway. I would have liked to have done a video while I was pulling it. The only problem with that was I needed both hands pretty much throughout the entire time I was doing this, and my buddy Josh didn't come over until later on that night, and by the time we were done, we didn't really feel like reshooting anything. So, like I said, that's basically the how-to. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. If you don't have questions, just let me know what you think. And, like I said, guys, subscribe to the channel for constant updates, and I'll see you in the next video.